All right. Everybody else is testing today, so we can do this. Um, I want to talk to you for a minute about what to expect. I know you've done the test before, and you're familiar, I'm sure, with the setup on how it works. You're going to have the language arts, math, and science, I believe, this year for you, Lucy. So the language arts has two parts, like I talked to you about last week, where it has stories or articles for you to read, and then it'll ask you questions about it, which that part is usually multiple choice. And you'll notice that some of the answers are silly. They're not going to be the answers. Oh, here comes Grayson. Cool. And then some of the questions are going to be harder. And try not to get stuck on the hard ones for too long because it is a long test anyway. But if you get really stuck on one, just pick an answer and move on. But for the writing part, good morning, Grayson. By the way, before I get too much into this, did you guys get a chance to print the thing I emailed your parents? Okay, good. Okay, awesome, good. That's what we're going to talk about in class today. Um, Plan on the language arts test being about 2 hours, roughly. I know that seems like a really long time, and it is, because it takes a while to read everything, answer the questions, and then to prepare for the writing part of the test. The writing part of the test, some of the questions are going to be short answer, just a couple sentences. Some of them might be a paragraph, but you will have an essay to write. And the essay is 5 paragraphs. I'm just going to tell you right now. That's what we're going to practice on today. Getting ready for that 5 paragraph essay. And there's several different types of essays there are, and I don't know what you're going to get. They never tell us, they don't want anybody to prepare ahead of time for it, so they won't tell us what it is going to be about. So we don't know what style of essay either. So I have this list and I'm going to attach this to your Google Classroom so you can look at it later too and maybe talk with your parent about it, whoever does your homeschooling. These are the essay styles for grades 3 through 5, and then these are essay styles from grades 6 to 11. But I have noticed for those older grades, you might have one of these as well. So I'm just going to share them all with you so you know what to expect. It's going to be one of these. The first one, and you don't have this in your packet. This is just on my screen, so you can just look at what I have, but I will send it to you in Google Classroom later. Opinion essays, those are when you have an opinion about something, like dogs are better than cats or cats are better than dogs. If you have an opinion about that, that's based off of your experience. So you would say things like, in my opinion, or I believe, I think, these types of words in that style of essay. And at the end, you will express what your opinion is about that thing. Informative, explanatory essays, that's when you're reading articles about facts and details about real things. That style of an essay, it could be that like when you guys wrote about coconut crabs. Remember way back when you did that? That's informative and explanatory. So explanatory, think of the word explain. You're basically explaining what something is. And these are the keywords you would use in that essay and your focus there. A narrative essay, I don't think you're going to get this, but I don't know. So I still want to talk to you about it just in case. That's a made up story. That's when you use your story sequence chart. Remember way back when you guys you made up stories. You had characters and setting, you had a conflict and a problem, and then you had your climax and resolution. Those are made up stories. And that's the style you would use for narrative essays. That's about like once upon a time when you're making up stuff. Sometimes you do that for pictures. Remember, you done that before, like for the drone paper you did, making up what was in the box and what happened to the drone, and remember that whole thing. Okay, those are narrative essay styles. Argumentative is a lot like opinion, but it's actually backed by real facts. and data and information from articles. So you give an argument of what you're going to take a position on something. And then you're going to explain why you have that position on that particular argument. And it could be something like, think about the penny in the United States, the penny. Should we keep using the penny or should we just get rid of the penny because nobody really uses it anymore? And so you would take a side on that. Do you think we should save it, keep it, or should we just stop making them and stop using them? And then you would say why one way or the other. And then explanatory, we already mentioned that up here. It's the same as informative. Today, we're going to practice an explanatory essay. Those are the most common ones. So I'm going to guess it's going to be like that, but I just wanted to cover these in case it's something else, because I don't know. They won't tell us ahead of time. So do you have any questions about these styles of essays? I'm going to attach this to your homework so you can see this more later. You do need to have 2 pieces of lined paper. So go ahead and get 2 pieces of lined paper really quick. That's the next step is we're going to use these as scratch paper. You will be allowed to have lined paper on test day. Usually use scratch paper for math, but I'm going to show you how to use it for writing. We did a little bit of practice with this last week, so you probably remember some of the things I'm going to tell you. You want to make your own checklist. You want to do like a homemade checklist. Okay. You can't use one you already have because all you're allowed to have is blank paper on that test day. So at the top, let's just go ahead and put dress ups like we did last week and write down what you remember from your checklist here, the list of things you include in your papers. See if you can come up with a few of them. Go ahead and start writing those down, what you remember from your checklist. You might not remember them all. That's okay. Just try to remember the ones you can. What do you have so far, Lucy?
LY, strong verb, because clause, it, who, which.
Good. That's a good start. Who, which. Do you have any others, Grayson, that you can remember?
That's a lot of noodles. I don't care writing a peanut because clause, prepositional, opener, WW Asia clause, strong verb, and quality adjective.
Good. WW Asia, strong verb, we got that. Quality adjective. And you did say prepositional opener, which is an opener, and that's okay if you have it on that list. I'm going to make a separate list here for those. Prepositional. And I think that's all you're using right now in your writing, but in grammar, we have other openers too, if you want to include like ly. But just put what you can remember, because remember, you get scratch paper and what you're doing is making a homemade checklist. So as you go and you write your paragraphs, you're going to actually put check marks by these, to help you remember, did I add that? Okay, check. You're going to make your own homemade checklist for you. Okay. Using these words is going to help improve your score by a lot on the test. Okay. I just want to make sure you know that. That's why we want to make sure to include these, but you don't have to underline them or highlight or put the numbers in front of them like you do for my class. Don't do any of that because they're not going to know what all that means anyway. Just make sure it's in there somewhere. Just use this as a reference to make sure, oh, did I put an ly in there? Okay, let me find a spot for an ly adverb. Okay, just for yourself. Oops. Okay, any questions about this homemade checklist? No? Okay, so now go on to the second piece of line paper here. And now we're going to set up our keyword outline. And by the way, this is going to be an essay, and an essay is 5 paragraphs long. And I know that's a lot. And I'm sorry you guys have to go through this, but every student has to do it. So just like I said, just get yourself mentally ready to sit for a long time to do this writing part of the test. It's okay. It's going to take time. You're going to be fine, and you're going to do great. So let's set up the keyword outline first by setting up Roman numeral 1. And then let's just do on this 1. I'm going to just do 1 through 4 on this one. For that's the introduction. In the margin, let's just put intro in parentheses like that. That's your introduction, okay? In a 5-paragraph model, that's the first paragraph. I know we haven't really gotten too deep into that yet for our class, so I want to show you how to set this up now. Skip a line, and you're going to do Roman numeral 2. This one's going to have 4. Let's just keep it 4 for all of them. Roman numeral 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. Roman numeral 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And Roman numeral 5. And I don't even know if we've really talked about these Roman numerals yet, but that's what they look like. So Roman numeral 4 has an I, capital I, and then a V. And then Roman numeral 5 is just a V. And next to Roman numeral 5 in the margin, go ahead and squeeze in the word conclusion, and let's put it in parentheses. So in a 5-paragraph model like this, and you will be writing a 5-paragraph essay, the introduction and the conclusion are separate. The body paragraphs are in the middle. Paragraphs 2, 3, and 4, those are the body paragraphs. And that's what you normally use in my class when you have a 3-paragraph assignment. Like for Amelia Earhart, you only wrote 3 paragraphs. That's all you've really been focusing on. All of that is going to be your body paragraphs. The introduction and conclusion are separate, but when you add them all together, it works together. Okay, and I'm going to show you how that happens. Okay. Super side note, because I forgot to ask you guys this as you're setting that up. Did you come up with a person in history that you're going to write about? Because I know that was part of your homework assignment. Did you guys pick somebody in history yet? If not, that's okay. We're going to start that next week. So it looks like you haven't yet. That's okay, but I do want you to be thinking ahead about that. After the test, we're going to write about a person in history, but just thought I'd ask. So, okay, back to this. Go ahead and get your packet out that you printed from my email. This one. This is the first page. You're going to see these little icons up here. And by the way, you're going to have tools on your test. And it's good to practice what the tools are ahead of time. If you can sit down with a parent and look at the practice test, I emailed them a link to one and just see what the tools are. I think you have a highlighter, something to underline, and then you've got these types of tools. This one's a little dictionary, so you can look up the definition of words. This one is a clipboard where you can take notes, and then of course, zooming in and zooming out. I recommend using your lined paper for your notes, not the clipboard. It's kind of, in my opinion, it's hard to find notes that you take there. So use your lined paper. Just make it old school for yourself because it's a lot easier to keep track of. And this is all going to be on your computer, so you're going to be able to scroll. And if you click the button next, you go on to the next page, you can do that and go back. It's okay to move around on the test when you're on the computer. It's not going to mess anything up. So if you skip a question and you want to go back to the question, you can hit the back and it's not going to erase anything or change anything. So just know you can scroll and go forward and backwards wherever you need to go on the test. When you go to submit the test, it'll show you a little grid. And if you missed any questions, it'll show you what questions you did not answer. And you need to go back and make sure that all of those answers are there, like you've answered everything. Okay, so pay attention to that too. We're going to write about napping. So hopefully you're not tired. And we're going to write about an explanatory performance task. So this is one of those informational type essays. And we're going to focus on napping and sleeping. So this is pretty interesting. It's one of my favorite things to do. I have a feeling you guys enjoy it too. So look where it says task. There has been much discussion in the news recently about the role of sleep and the role of napping. How many hours of sleep is enough? What is too much sleep? What is too little sleep? How do naps fit into sleep cycles? The Journalism Club advisor has asked you to research the roles of sleep and napping. As part of your research, you have found 3 sources about sleep and napping. Okay, and this paragraph is going to talk to you about the first part of the test. There's 2 parts. Part 1 is reading the sources and answering multiple choice questions. Part 2 is writing your essay and other writing things in the part 2. But it just says, and here's a tip for you. After you have reviewed these sources, you will answer some questions about them, briefly scan the sources and the questions that follow, then go back and read the sources carefully so you will have the information you need to answer the questions and complete your research. You may click on the global notes button to take notes on the information you find in the sources as you read. You may also use scratch paper to take notes. That's what I recommend, scratch paper. And then it's giving you some directions here about getting ready to answer the multiple choice questions. But we're not going to do that part today. During the test, you will, so you'll want to read everything. But I want you to skip to the back of this packet real quick. Not the very last page, but the second to the last page. You're going to see part 2 here. So it's not the last page, but right before the last page. There's a number here in the middle, and then it says part 2. Thumbs up if you got it. Okay, good. So this is the part where you're going to have your assignment for what you're going to write about. And it's saying to review your notes, blah, 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 about the assignment. On the test, you're going to actually read all of that. But for the sake of time in class, I want you to focus right here where it says your assignment. This is really important for you to find on the test so you know exactly what they want you to write about. It says, now that you have completed research on the topic of sleep, the Journalism Club advisor has asked you to write an explanatory article about sleep and naps for the next issue of the school newspaper. The audience for your article will be your other students, teachers, and parents. Using more than one source, develop a thesis controlling idea. A thesis is a statement about naps or sleeping. Okay, it's just basically a statement about them. Okay, and we're going to talk about that in a second. To explain about sleep and naps, once you have a thesis controlling idea, select the most relevant information from more than one source to support your thesis controlling idea. Then write a multi-paragraph explanatory article explaining your thesis controlling idea. Clearly organize your article and elaborate your ideas. Unless quoting directly from the sources, use your own words. Be sure to reference the other source, title, or number when you're quoting or paraphrasing details or facts from the sources. So that just means you can use direct quotes from the sources, but you have to tell who wrote that quote. So you can't just copy. They won't even grade it if they see you just copying stuff, okay? You can copy a little bit as far as one sentence and then give credit to whoever said that. We'll talk about that more in a minute, but then it goes on to explain the scoring, which I'm not going to go into that with you. You can look at that later. I just wanted to make sure you understood what the assignment is, and you're going to write about sleeping and napping. Okay, that's what your focus is on this paper. All right, and now let's go back to the very front page again, where the articles start. At the bottom of this very front page, this is the page with the icons here. It says, how much sleep is enough? That's the name of the article. The amount of sleep you need each day will change over the course of your life. Although sleep needs vary from person to person, the chart below shows general recommendations for different age groups. Here's the age. So newborns, they need 16 to 18 hours a day of sleep. That's crazy. It's a lot. It's almost the whole day. Preschool age children, those are like kids that are 4 years old. They need 11 to 12 hours of sleep a day. School age children, that's basically kindergarten through junior high. They need at least 10 hours of sleep a day. Go on to the next page. The chart continues here. Teens, that's 13 to 19, they need 9 to 10 hours a day. And then adults, including the elderly, need 7 to 8 hours a day. So notice the older we get, the less amount of sleep that we're required to have. You might have a different opinion about that because I never feel like 7 or 8 hours is enough for me. I would love to have 9 hours of sleep. That's like ideal for me. But it doesn't happen very often because I'm busy. I'm busy at night. I'm busy in the morning. It's like hard to fit it in. So that's what they recommend though. So you got that chart there. And by the way, we're gonna take notes on our keyword outline after we read the article. If you routinely lose sleep or choose to sleep less than needed, the sleep loss adds up. The total sleep lost is called your sleep debt. For example, if you lose 2 hours of sleep each night, you'll have a sleep debt of 14 hours after a week. Some people nap as a way to deal with sleepiness. Naps can or may provide a short-term boost in alertness and performance. However, napping doesn't provide all of the other benefits of nighttime sleep. Thus, you can't really make up for lost sleep. Some people sleep more on their days off than on work days. They also may go to bed later and get up later on days off. Sleeping more on days off might be a sign that you aren't getting enough sleep. Although extra sleep on days off might help you feel better, it can upset your body's sleep-wake rhythm. Bad sleep habits and long-term sleep loss will affect your health. If you're worried about whether you're getting enough sleep, try using a sleep diary for a couple of weeks. Write down how much sleep you get each night, how alert and rested you feel in the morning, and how sleepy you feel during the day. Sleeping, and go ahead and follow along, Grayson, on your paper too, okay? Sleeping when your body is ready to sleep is also very important. Sleep deficiency can affect people even when they sleep the total number of hours recommended for their age group. For example, people whose sleep is out of sync with their body clocks, such as shift workers, or is routinely interrupted, such as caregivers or emergency responders, might need to pay special attention to their sleep needs. And then they give a reference right here of where they found that information. Okay. All right. So on your outline, I recommend, normally we're folding the paper and we're keeping track of Article A, Article B, and Article C. But for this style of test, I think it's going to be easiest if you jump down here, because this is the intro, go to Roman numeral 2 and put source number 1. Roman numeral 3, that's going to be source number 2. Roman numeral 4 is going to be source number 3. That is a much simpler way in this style of writing for a test than what we do in class. I know we fold the paper and we look at A, B, and C, we mix them up and we do a fused outline. You don't have to do that on this. You can just use this format here. Your information from source 1, you're going to put here on Roman numeral 2. Source 2 goes on 3, source 3 goes on 4. That's the basic format that you're going to follow. So now that we finished source 1, we can focus on this Roman numeral 2 and some interesting facts that you found out in that article. How much sleep is enough? And this first talked about age and recommended sleep. So we can start by putting that here next to Roman numeral 2, age, and then recommended and sleep. Remember, the rules are still the same with your keyword outline. If you have to put 4 words, that's okay. But we don't want it to look like you're copying from the original because they won't like to see that. So you're only going to try to keep it to 3 or 4 if you have to. You can still use numbers and symbols and abbreviations and things like that. That's okay. From here, I'm going to give you guys just a couple minutes to look back on the article that I just read to you and write down some key facts here, some keywords from facts from that article about sleeping and napping. Okay, so go ahead and take 2 minutes and just go back and look at what you thought was interesting on that article. I just wrote down some while you guys were working too. So I have here sleep loss equals debt, sleepiness, some nap. So sometimes people take a nap to help with their sleepiness during the day. And then I have bad, and I just put Z's here for sleep habits affect the health. What is one topic or what is one fact that you have, Lucy, on yours? And then Grayson, you could share one of yours too.
Naps provide a short-term boost.
Okay.
However, napping X
Okay.
provide benefits.
Good. I like it. Grayson, what's one that you have?
If you're worried about your sleep, you can have a sleep diary, which you write down how many hours and how sleepy you are.
Okay, good. I like that. Yep, that's good. All right, let's move on to source number 2. Even if you didn't finish the rest of this, that's okay. You can finish it later. I'm going to have you guys work on this for homework anyway. So I'm going to move on to source 2, which is under that article. It's called The Secret Truth About Napping. Okay, so I'm going to read this next. It says, napping only for kids? In general, Americans regard napping as an unproductive habit. They think that only little children should take naps. However, there is evidence that napping can benefit people of all ages. Famous nappers. This is interesting. Many famous historical figures have been nappers. American presidents, John F. Kennedy, Ronald Reagan, and Bill Clinton all took frequent naps to help them deal with the pressure of leading a powerful nation. Napoleon Bonaparte, a French emperor, often gave rousing speeches at a moment's notice. Perhaps this was due to his habit of taking frequent naps. Winston Churchill, who helped lead the Allied powers to victory during World War II, slept for at least an hour every afternoon. He stated that a nap could renew a person's energy. And by the way, that's kind of an interesting quote that you could say as an opener, attention getter, and we'll come back to that. But you could say Winston Churchill once said, quote, "A nap could renew a person's energy," end quote, something like that. Just a heads up on that part. Go on to the next page. It looks like this. It's a lot. I'm going to keep going. Other famous historical nappers include the brilliant scientist Albert Einstein and the world-changing inventor Thomas Edison. The amazing artist Leonardo da Vinci also took naps. They all had unusual sleep patterns that allowed them to work in a focused and creative way. Maybe if Edison had skipped his naps, he would have never invented the light bulb. Maybe Leonardo would have been too sleepy to paint the Mona Lisa. Naps for certain careers. Scientific studies show that the benefits that naps can provide for individuals with unusual work schedules. Examples include astronauts and certain medical personnel. The human body operates according to an internal clock. This clock operates in relation to the Earth's pattern of darkness at night and bright light during the day. When a person's internal clock is in sync with her or his habits, the person can most likely sleep well at night and remain awake and alert all day. If the person's job makes for interrupted sleep or sleep at odd hours, the internal clock can become confused. Then the person has trouble getting enough sleep. Astronauts traveling in space are not exposed to regular patterns of light and darkness. As a result, astronauts average 2 hours less sleep than usual during every night when they spend in space. Every night they spend in space. They often have trouble concentrating. They also become grumpy. NASA decided to study whether astronauts should take naps. They did research with volunteers. The researchers found that napping improved memory, but not alertness. NASA researchers also concluded that longer naps worked better than shorter ones. Mark Rosekind of NASA, who conducted the research, stated that even a 26-minute nap boosted a pilot's mental performance by 34%. A 45-minute nap gave roughly the same mental boost, but the boost lasted more than 6 hours. Doctors in training, known as residents, work very long hours. As a result, they are often sleep deprived. Emergency room doctors working at night also have problems sleeping. Sleep experts recommend that these health workers take short naps on the job. A team of researchers led by David F. Dings, a professor at the University of Pennsylvania, found that letting subjects nap for as little as 24 minutes improved their mental performance. So even short naps can reduce the number of mistakes a tired person makes. The main takeaway seems to be that a deep sleep, whether at night, it is nighttime sleep or daytime sleep, primes the brain to function at a higher level, allowing us to come up with better ideas, find solutions to puzzles more quickly, identify patterns faster, and recall information more accurately. Siesta tradition. There is a word in Spanish language to describe the habit of taking a nap in the mid-afternoon, siesta. However, taking a midday nap is common not only in Spain, but it is also common in Greece, where people traditionally take a break in the middle of the day, they eat a large meal, and then they take a nap. It's not the big noontime meal that makes Greeks sleepy. Evidence suggests that people in general become drowsy between 2 o'clock p.m. and 4 o'clock p.m. In fast-paced America, workers and students usually fight to stay awake during the so-called nap zone. I find that true for myself too. I usually get tired at that time in the afternoon, get sleepy. After a nap, people tend to be happier and more alert. They do work better they do better work and avoid mistakes. Nappers may even have a better long-term health than non-nappers. In 2007, a study of the Harvard School of Public Health discovered that people who took 30-minute naps at least 3 times a week were 37% less likely to die of heart disease. Furthermore, the study found that even people who napped for less than 30 minutes or napped only 1 or 2 times per week were 12% less likely to die from heart disease. In 2011 study, researchers at Allegheny College found that napping was a factor in lowering blood pressure after mental stress. The people in the study who took a daily 45-minute nap on average had lower blood pressure after taking a mental stress test than those who didn't have a nap. And by the way, on the test, these articles can be long. So just remember, just keep going, okay? Don't stop, just keep going. Finding time to sleep. But finding time to sleep or to nap can be challenging. Students involved in sports or other extracurricular activities after school aren't often able to find time to nap before evening sleep time. And finding places to nap during the day at school is challenging. However, Anton Anderson, an English teacher at Greenwich, Connecticut High School, decided to do something to help the waves of weary teens he was seeing every day. In 1998, he founded the Power Napping Club. It's actually a club, which allows students to nap for about 20 minutes at the end of the day before going on to extracurricular activities. Its motto, Veni, Vidi, Dormici, Italian for I came, I saw, I slept. That would be another good quote to start your paper with in the introduction. The Power Napping Club co-president emphasizes that the boost that naps provide. Obviously, it's no substitute for sleep, but I definitely feel more relaxed afterward, she says. Okay, and then the next page is just the references. Look at all those bibliography references for that article. So that's the end of that article. Now we're going to just work on a few facts from it for Roman numeral 3. It did talk about historical figures that napped, and it talked about the benefits of napping, what doctors have said, different careers. So I'm just going to give you like 2 minutes to write down some facts that you found interesting from that source. And I'm going to do the same. So you can either copy what I have or you can come up with your own. Okay, these are just my ideas, but you might have had different ones that you wrote down. I left 4 blank on purpose because you guys will be working on this, finishing up this for your homework too. So if you only have a couple, that's okay. I put famous historical nappers, JFK, deal with pressures of leading the United States. Naps renew a person's energy. Siesta is a tradition in Spain. So this one's really focusing on naps. Okay, so obviously source 1 is focusing more on nighttime sleep. And then source 2 is focusing more on naps. So for the sake of time, I'm just going to keep going here. And we're going to look at source 3. Source 3 is after what I just read, all those articles that they got that information from. This one's shorter, by the way. This one's a letter. So this is a little bit different take on napping and sleeping. So it says, Dear Dr. Vessler, I am a 12-year-old middle school student who usually gets about 8 hours of sleep at night. I often feel tired when I get home from school at 3:30, and I want to be alert and energetic in the evening so I can focus on all of my homework. However, when I tried taking a nap, I slept for 2 or 3 hours. Then I woke up groggy. What can I do so I will have more energy in the evening? Sincerely, Too Sleepy. And then he's writing back, Dear Too Sleepy. Good for you, thinking of ways to increase your productivity for schoolwork. The first thing I would like to point out is that you are not getting enough sleep at night. For someone your age, I recommend that you go to bed earlier. Remember, the most important thing you can do is to sleep more at night. On nights when you don't get enough sleep, napping can help to recharge your body and increase your mental alertness. Did you know that 85% of animals sleep in short periods throughout the day? Humans are one of the few species that do most of their sleeping at night. Introducing a cat nap into your day may be very helpful. In fact, studies show that taking a short nap after learning new information may help you remember that information better. I do not, however, recommend a 2 or 3 hour nap because napping for several hours during the day can make it hard for you to fall asleep at night. It can also be difficult to wake up after a long nap. According to research by David F. Dings, napping for as little as 24 minutes improved mental performance. Short naps also don't cause the post-nap groggy feeling that accompanies longer naps. Almost done, guys. Another important issue to consider is when to take your nap. You don't want to nap too late in the day. Why? Doing so can make it harder for you to fall asleep at night. I recommend that if you decide to take a nap, you should do it right after you get home from school. Set a timer for about 24 minutes so that you don't oversleep. You will most likely wake up refreshed and have more energy to focus on your homework in the evening. Sleep well, Dr. Daniel Bessler, MD. So source 3 is really more of doctor's advice. So I'm going to put doctor, and this guy's name is Vessler. Advice. And it's about napping. Now, I'm not going to give you time in class to fill this in. This is going to be part of your homework to practice for the test, because I do really want to focus on the conclusion and the introduction next, so you know how to fill that part in for this part of your essay. So you have your 3 body paragraphs ready to go. We'll pretend they're full. And I want you to just circle some key words here. So next to Roman numeral 2, circle that word sleep. Next to Roman numeral 3, circle the word nappers. And then for source 3, you're going to circle doctor, right? Because those are the main topics for each one of your body paragraphs. You need to know that because when you work on your conclusion, you're going to restate those topics. So the first part of the conclusion for right here next to Roman numeral 5, you're going to restate your topics. So you need to come up with some keywords that talk about sleep, and sleep needs to be one of your keywords. It can be something like the importance of sleep. A good night's sleep is important for productivity or something like that. Something that kind of generally talks about sleep. You can go back to that first paragraph the first source that we read and find something there, or we can just add this and you can copy this if you want, or come up with something else. So I'm going to say recommend sleep and then productive. For me, that helps me. I know I have a recommended amount of sleep that I need to have in order to have a productive day. And I put a sunshine here to represent day, right? A productive day. That lines up with my first source. My second source is talking about naps. So I'm going to mention naps here for the next part of my conclusion. And I'm going to say something about how naps can help with, remember they talked about memory. I'll put something like naps help memory. They also talked about having more energy taking naps after taking short naps. Go ahead and circle sleep and naps here. See how they connect. So I got sleep, I got nappers and naps. And now I need to mention something about the doctor's advice here. And I'm going to put doctor and then short naps. And I'm going to circle doctor. So now doctor goes with my third source, which is doctor. You see the pattern there? You're restating those things. And then for number 3, this is when you're going to talk about most, and write this down, significant. And we're going to put that in parentheses. We're not really counting that as our keywords. That's just reminding us, we're going to talk about the most significant thing about all of these articles that we've read. Most significant means the most important thing that you want to come away with. It's important to wrap up your essay pointing out what the most important thing about it is. And using that word significant is a great vocabulary word to use to point out what the most important thing is. And then for number 4, you're going to put why. Why is that most significant? So let's talk about that for a minute. After we read everything, what do you guys think is the most important thing to come away with? What is the most significant thing about sleeping or napping that you think? And it can be different. There's no right or wrong answer. But what do you think, Grayson? What's something that you think is the most important thing to remember about what you read?
That naps can help memory and activeness.
Yeah, okay. Help you to be more active, have more energy. I like that. So you would say something here about most significant, and then I would put naps, active, and maybe energy. And then you think of why that's important. You'll have a better day. Maybe you'll have a more productive day. I'll put that word productive. That's a good one. How about you, Lucy? What was something that you thought was most significant about everything that you read?
So we should probably be getting more sleep.
Okay. The most significant thing to remember is to get more sleep. That's good. And why is that important to remember?
To help enhance your performance.
Ooh, I like that. So here you would put next to most significant, you would put get more sleep. And then for why, enhance performance. I like that. So on your paper, that's what you can write down. This is how you're going to wrap up your essay right here, restating these 3 things and then talking about what's the most significant thing and why. Okay, you guys are on the right track. That's good. Now we're going to jump up to the introduction. I know this seems, uh-oh, Lucy went away. She disappeared. Her computer probably died. This is how we do, this is the order and how I recommend writing these essays, starting with the 3 body paragraphs, because those are the articles that you read, these sources here. Then working on the conclusion, and then going back and figuring out your introduction. Now, your introduction starts with an attention getter here. So that could be a quote, it could be a question, or it could be a VSS about sleep. So something, a VSS, remember, is your very short sentence. We talk about that in grammar. It means the sentence that's like 2 to 5 words only. So what do you think, Grayson? You want to start with a question like, do you know how much sleep you get every night? Or have you ever heard of sleep debt? You could start with a question. You could pick a quote from one of the articles to start with, or a VSS. What do you think?
I like the question.
Okay. What kind of question would you put? Or do you know one yet?
I think the one that you said about, do you know about sleep debt?
Okay. I'm just going to write out the question so you can remember. Do you know about sleep debt? That is a good, so your attention getter is supposed to draw in the reader, whoever's reading your essay, to make them want to read more. So it's a good way to start it with a question. If you like the idea of using a quote, you can find, I think I pointed out a couple ideas as we were reading. So you can use that too, as long as you tell who the quote. And then after the attention getter, you're going to give a little bit of a background here about sleeping and the importance of sleeping. Okay, and I'm going to put here something like sleep, naps, important. And a little bit of background, maybe some of the studies they talked about, like how it improves, your performance and things like that. You can add something about another information there about the background of sleeping and napping. And then you're going to restate these 3 topics again. So actually what we'll do is move on to number 2. Number 2 here, we'll have something about sleep. I know we just mentioned it here, but something specific about sleep. Now down here we said recommend sleep productive day. It's got to be something different than that. You don't want to copy the same sentences as in your conclusion. So it can be something like maybe going back to that chart and say something like teenagers need, and how many hours did it say? 9 to 10. 9 to 10. I'm going to abbreviate hours, and then I'm going to use that word sleep, and I'm going to circle that word sleep because that's the first topic that I mentioned in my body paragraph. So the pattern is going to follow the same pattern: sleep, nappers, doctor. So for this one here, we're going to talk about nappers next, and naps, anything about naps or napping. Down here, we put naps help memory. And I remember the beginning of one of the articles talked about not only little children need naps, because everybody really could use naps during the day to help them be more productive. So I might put something like only, and I'm just giving my examples here. Not only, that's what that means if I circle it and cross it out. Children nap. Not only children nap, that gets me that word nap in there, which follows that pattern. And then the last one, I know I'm going kind of fast here, but I'm trying to wrap it up. So we've got something about the doctor for the last part. So maybe something like something else about what the doctor said. What's another fact we could put about the doctor? What he said. Can you think of one?
That he recommends 24 minutes a day.
Yes, good. After school?
Yeah.
Doctor, we could put 24 minutes a day, maybe. And then circle that word doctor. Lucy, we lost you for a second. Did your computer die? Yeah, okay. So I basically went over the introduction, but I can do that with you next because you're going to stay on with me. But your homework this week is going to be to finish the little holes and spaces that we didn't get to do on your keyword outline. Finish setting this up and then go ahead and write your 5 paragraphs. I know that seems like a lot for homework, but it's just preparing you for the test. You do not have any grammar homework. You do not have any binder homework. It's only this. So you should have time to practice writing out these paragraphs. And don't forget to use your homemade checklist as you write out these paragraphs. Okay. Any questions about what we worked on today or any questions about homework this week? You're good? All right. Awesome. Have a great week. And Lucy's going to stay on with me, but I'll see you next week, Grayson.